In political news today, Super Tuesday, 14 states are holding nominating contests representing 34% of delegates in the race for the next Democratic presidential nominee. Joe Biden picked up some key endorsements last night. He appeared on stage in Dallas with former rivals Beto O'Rourke, Senator Amy Klobuchar, who said Biden is the party's best chance at beating President Trump. Pete Buttigieg flew to Dallas to endorse Biden, but did not stick around for the rally. Just find this. Okay. Joining us now with more on the Democratic face-off and what it could mean for the market, Sarah Bianchi. She is Evercore ISI head of policy and politics. You know the vice president pretty well and used to work for him. So we're going to take what you say with a grain of salt, Sarah. But doesn't mean we can't have a discussion here. So here's what 538 says: that 40% of the delegates pledged on Tuesday will go to Sanders. Biden will probably get 30%. Bloomberg maybe gets 18%. And by the convention, Sanders will still probably have a plurality of about 40%, Biden about 35%. And this could change because in the last week, it's really pretty amazing what we've seen in the betting markets because Vice President Biden has had an unbelievable resurgence. I think people looked around and said, oh, my God. I mean, even Democrats looked around and said, Bernie might win. I mean, they really panicked, didn't they? And suddenly Joe looked like a great candidate again.
Well, it certainly hasn't been a volatile week in this race. I think really what you saw was African-American voters saying, wait a minute, we have a really, really big voice in this party, and we haven't spoken yet. And so it really was a grassroots up movement on behalf of the vice president. But look, you're right. Bernie Sanders has a big advantage in a lot of states. Many of them have been voting early, like California. So I think it's very, very difficult to say what the delegates look like coming out of tonight. But certainly, if you're Vice President Biden, you can't have hoped for any better of a last 72 hours. And really showing what I think in Texas with Pete Buttigieg, really what people do love about the vice president, which is his empathy and the exchange with Mayor Buttigieg in particular about how he reminded him of his son, Beau, I think really was the best of Joe Biden, is the best of Joe Biden. But he's up against a lot here with this map and with the votes that have already taken place.
Right. Weird what's happening to Mayor Bloomberg in the betting sites, too, because he's single digits. And I made the point off camera that if he had spent $500 million on Joe Biden ads, I don't think it would have been as effective as him spending $500 million on himself to split the moderate vote, which drove home the point that Bernie could actually be the candidate. And then all those people, like Bloomberg, who said, I wouldn't run unless I thought Biden couldn't do it. There were some other big backers that were a little worried. They all have come flocking back to Joe now. And the whole Bloomberg fool's errand at this point seems like he may drop out tomorrow, I think, if he doesn't do well on Super Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you saw over the weekend and last night was the moderates, many of the moderates in this race, Klobuchar, Buttigieg, even Beto came out last night saying we've got to unify. We need one leader. We can't keep dividing these votes. Bloomberg certainly is splitting votes with Biden. We see that in the South. We see it in Virginia, Alabama, Arkansas. And so he's going to, definitely even being in today has a big impact. And so I do think there were folks who were hoping he would make a different decision going into today. But he hasn't been tested on the ballot, and he's got a great grassroots organization and a really good political operation. So I think we'll see how he does today. But for sure, he could have an impact on the delegate tally here.
Hey, Sarah, is this too late for all of these endorsements, given how much early voting takes place?
It's certainly late. It's certainly late in places like California for sure, but also Colorado, North Carolina. Places have been voting. But I think most of us, I'm a voter in Virginia, I haven't voted yet. I think a lot of people will show up to the polls today and make their voice heard. So I don't think it's too late. There's a lot of states up for grabs today. But for sure, if the delegate lead for Bernie Sanders is dramatic tonight, then a lot of people are going to say, gosh, shouldn't we have figured this out a little bit early? But I think there's a long way to go. I do believe if the delegate count, it doesn't, if Sanders is leading by somewhat, but not astronomical, then there are other states coming forward where the vice president can get back in the game.